our item. Oh my god. Oh man. I don't know why we have 2 items. Like, maybe because of the crash, it gave us a second item in our, when we picked up the second Eden's Blessing or something. Oh my god. Eden starts with 1? Yeah, but we have 4 items. We have Aura, Book of Secrets, Brimstone, and Ipecac. Oh man. Message David. Cancel that. Cancel my previous message, David. We do have to be careful. Like, the Brimstone Ipecac, it does explode. But still, I mean, like, look at this. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. I mean, this is like one of the funniest starts I've ever seen in my entire life. We don't have that much damage. This is like maybe a little copium. Like, our damage is still kind of... Okay, well then, scratch that. Okay. We're going to Delirium. You know what, let's take Angel Deals. I mean, I'm not sure. I still want to go to our item room at the very least. We could probably put this in speedrun territory, but... Oh, Lord. That's crazy. Is one of the strongest... I mean, it's hard to imagine, like, a stronger start. Are you gonna explode? Yeah. Well, whatever. You gotta make it the boss rush. Yeah, I wouldn't concern yourself too much with that. I think that's probably gonna... I mean, we don't even have to get the boss rush. We have to get the Delirium, but I think we're gonna get there. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'm just gonna fish for the quarter for a bit. We'll probably do boss rush. Nothing down there. I mean, you gotta acknowledge, like, there's people like Backseat in this run right now. Like, that's where you got a problem. You know what they say in Crazy Town's Butterfly? Too much is never enough. Like, this is literally like you're pulling into your destination, and you're like, turn right here. You're like, yeah, shift the car into reverse. I read a Twitter thread the other day. I almost quote tweeted it, but I've been, you know, trying to... Like, if I see something on Twitter that makes me mad, that's one thing. But I've been trying to torpedo Twitter's business model by not sharing that anger with other people, thus upping their engagement, but, you know, eroding mankind's faith in itself. But it was the thread that started it. And I already know my demographic is going to agree with me on this one, for the most part. So I feel weird bringing it up, because people are going to be like, what the heck? But the tweet that kicked it off, and it had like 75,000 likes, was like, why do so many people back into parking spots? Like, there's literally no point. Okay, we get it. You can drive well. Congratulations. And... a lot of people shared my opinion, which was it's actually easier to back into a spot than to pull into it. And it's, on top of that, it's much safer to pull out of a spot than it is to back out of a spot when you're getting out. The number of truly insane people who were like, every time I'm in a parking lot, the person in front of me throws on their signal light to turn right into a spot, and then they drive past the spot a little bit, and because I have no critical thinking, I get an inch away from their bumper because that's how I drive at all times. Then they throw on the lights to put it in reverse, and I'm like, what do I do? It pisses me off so much. This is like, it's crazy, man. The amount of people who are like, I get so pissed off in a parking lot when somebody pulls past a spot and then throws it in reverse. And I'm like, yeah, give them some space, dumbass. You don't have to be like, you know, one atom's width away from the person in front of you in the Albertsons parking lot. It's your inner George Costanza. I was just stunned at the number of people. I didn't know it was like a thing where there are people who see someone back into a spot and then either rage because it takes the person in front of them 5 extra seconds to park, or alternatively assume that the only reason somebody is backing into a space is to like flex that they know how to back in. I'm like, nah, man, it's just better. It's so much better to pull out of a spot, not even to leave quickly, just to like leave safely, than it is to back out of a spot. Backing out of a spot, you have like insane blind spots, you know, on the rear end of your car. When you're backing into a spot, you don't have that because you have 2 stationary objects that serve as guidelines. Just back out slowly? I mean, you gotta go in reverse at some point anyway. Why not just back in slowly instead? We might as well take... We're doing Delirium? I guess we could have sucked it up. I back out and back in. Look, that's the Sigma grind set. Backing in slowly blocks people for longer. I mean, I feel like you're just not thinking about the fact that you also block people when you back out. Because you have no idea if people are driving in the parking lot because you have blind spots surrounding your car. It's really whether you block people on the way in or if you block people on the way out. I would rather block people on the way in because it's much safer to pull backwards into a spot between 2 parked cars than it is to pull out into bi-directional traffic. Not if you're not 100 and can turn around without breaking your spine. Well, you know, if you were just good at... As long as we're doing appeals to, you know, ad hominem bullshit, if you were just good at driving, you could back in at roughly the same speed that you would pull in. And then this wouldn't be an issue to begin with. So maybe I'm 100 years old, but you should, like, probably take your driving lessons again if you can't back in. Or maybe you're just scared. Like, maybe you just... you know, have no confidence when you're driving, which is actually probably worse than just being bad at it in the first place. Because scared people make unpredictable decisions behind the wheel of a car. Mom, pick me up, I'm scared. I'm just like, if you prefer to pull in, that's fine, and then back out. Just don't become the Mr. Wrong. Who is like, well, actually backing in is objectively worse. How is it objectively worse? People will be like, well, I work for FedEx and they force us to back in because it's actually like there's scientific literature that it's better. And they're like, well, that's cool and all that. That like you've got, you know, a fleet of 15,000 drivers across the United States of America. But my anecdotal evidence based on what my aunt told me when she was teaching me how to drive was that, just pulling in is better, because, you know, that way you're not inconveniencing people for 3/4 of a second while you line up your car and back into the spot. Suck it up. Again, like, however you park, as long as you park between the lines, doesn't bother me in the slightest. It's only once you start to assert that the only reason you would back in is because either you're stupid or you're trying to flex, that the burden of proof falls onto you. I would never disagree, by the way. The optimum way to park is pull in and then drive 1 space forward if it's available. If you have two spaces that are vertically stacked and they're both empty, pull in and drive one more space is the way to go. No one's disputing that. You'd have to be a fool. Okay, speaking of being a fool. They failed my driving test because I did that at the end. Look, you know, when you're doing your driving test, that's when you have to follow all of the bullshit regulations that don't actually apply in vivo. But honestly, if you drive in real life as if every day was your driving test, you're not fit to be on the road. Every time you... Okay, I'll go get it. Hold on. Pause me for a second, Chad. Just hit the pause button. I don't want to break the conversational momentum. Alright, I'm back. Here we are. Yeah, I mean, I think, like, every day while driving, forced is not the literally correct word here, but I am forced to make a decision that would probably get you failed on your driving test. Like you'll be stuck at like a yield sign for like 25 minutes if you don't take a bit of a questionable like right turn into traffic to get yourself on your way. That's basically... You don't cut people off, but you're like, if this were my driving test, I would let you go, but because this is the real world, I'm just gonna sneak out and then accelerate insanely quickly to make sure that I'm going with the flow of traffic. If there was a sign saying don't back into a space, would you still back into it? Yes. I am not ruled by the sign. If I not only, this is not a hypothetical, I do it all the time. Like I try to think of like the reason for the sign being there, and I'm like, most of the time that the sign is there, I think it's because like if you back in, there's like low clearance, and if you open your trunk, you might hit like a pipe or something like that. So what I do is I just back in, and then I don't hit the pipe with my trunk. That's about it. It's it's worked out so far. Surprisingly not that hard. But you wouldn't pull through slanted spaces? We don't, at least where I live, there's not many diagonal parking lots. There are diagonal parking lots that are like, they have one row and then stop at like a sidewalk, but very rarely is there a diagonal like pull through. So I don't know if I've ever found myself in that situation, quite frankly. How do you put groceries away if you back in? You open your trunk and then place the groceries into your trunk, and then you close the trunk, and get in your driver's side door and then drive away. Okay, real answer though? What are you talking about? Do you drive one of those trucks that it has like a hinge on the back and then it opens like a 4-foot door swinging out? It's just a little thing that goes... You slide your groceries in that and then you pull away. Is everyone insane? Dude, that's what I'm talking about. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm sure it's different in like, you know, certain other parts of the world. I live in a city that's pretty hard to drive in. And there's a lot of people on the road and places are very busy. Parking spots are very tight. And none of this like headcanon has ever happened to me in real life. I think some of you, maybe not all, but some of you are worried about like fantasy situations that have never come to pass in reality. Or you're driving like a cement mixer to pick up your groceries. Like, I don't know. Soul of Cain, always interesting. These are bad though. Where else would I store them? I mean, I get you got to keep it in the. You got to keep them moving, otherwise the ice cream will melt. I think if you use Soul of Cain in here, you actually like start the big crunch of the universe. You can't fit a cart between the cars. No, it's not gonna do anything for us here. Okay, you know what? I'll give you that one. Okay. If you take your cart out of the grocery store to your car and then have to squeeze it between two cars to get to the back, I can understand why you would pull in that situation. What I do is, because I live in a city where shopping carts are like, you know, a premium experience. If you leave the grocery store with a shopping cart, the wheels magnetically lock. So I just, when I get to the edge of the grocery store, I take all of my bags out and just man mode it back to my car with my arms. And then just load them into my trunk like that. Cities, lol. You don't want to start the rural versus city discussion. People who live in rural areas be like, my house was only $75,000. People in cities be like, your house is only worth $75,000? Oof, oof, oof. People in cities be like, oh, this meal was $40 per person? Oh, we gotta make Delirium, sorry. What a deal! People in rural areas be like, I love eating at Yamato Sushi, my favorite Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Thai, Cambodian, Indian, Indonesian, Singaporean, Malaysian, Australian, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea fusion cuisine. They have the best Vietnamese California rolls. You're gonna love it. And check this out. They give you tea for free in like one of those cups. It's super authentic. Kate is actually like dying laughing in the other room. She's losing it. Farm kids be like, let's hang out at the gas station today. I mean, I can say I lived in a rural area until I was like 15. You really did just like, you know, you just go to the convenience store. You're like, what do you want to do today? I don't know. You want to just like go stand outside the convenience store? Yeah, sounds nice. So I got some very fond memories. Rural kids be like, hey, you want to go see a movie? Sure, just let me fill up my car first. So silly. Don't you see? This is how they divide us. Wait, okay, we're on depths 1. Why not touch Guppy's paw? It knows. It knows why. City kids the same, though? No, city kids would be like, you want to go to the movies? Sure, let me just borrow $100 from my dad so I can pay for parking. We are nothing alike. Don't compare us. Suburbs people real quiet right now. I gotta be honest. I think I've got a bullish sentiment on the suburbs right now. I know the suburbs have gone through some. There's been some damaging public messaging for the suburbs. Okay. Namely, you know, they're like kind of cultural deserts where nothing goes on. But like cities, very expensive for sure. And you're in the mix, and you know when you're a very young adult, being in the mix is kind of cool. It's kind of exciting. You know, it's a joie de vivre. When you get a little older, there's sometimes where I'm like when I'm out as a solo individual and I walk by somebody who is just screaming at the top of their lungs for like, you know, 45 seconds straight, I'm like, no problem. But when I have like the stroller with me, I'm like, it just is a little uncomfortable. And it makes me, I wouldn't say like want to move to the suburbs, but I'm definitely like, I can see why as people start families, they're like, maybe we should do this. Like maybe, I think you just see like one too many things where then you're like, you know, maybe a yard wouldn't be so bad. Maybe it is worth like mowing the lawn. Justice. The Fool card, Ace of Hearts, the Empress. Give me the Tainted Empress. Look, don't tell me to read a book. That's a lot of work. Is there like a 6-minute YouTube video, or better yet, just like a headline? A TED Talk? Is AstroTurf a boomer move or a zoomer move? It's definitely a boomer move. Like, I think, I'm not insanely, like, anti-lawn. At all. I do understand the principle of, like, you know, they use a lot of water. They they have no biodiversity, which is like bad for the environment. For sure. So I guess never mind. I'm kind of like anti-lawn. But I am also definitely like, I think AstroTurf is much worse. Like, what if you just had like a lawn, but you just sort of like, you mowed it, but you just let stuff grow anyway? Like, if as far as, I don't want my grass getting so long that it looks like disheveled, but if a couple of weeds start growing there, who am I to say that a weed is less worthy of occupying that space than the grass itself? Like, isn't it just, you know, weeds are just, grass is a weed if you don't think about it too hard. I will not be taking these. Just take me to Delirium via Hush. Like, as long as the forefront of my house doesn't look like where Helena Bonham Carter lives when she's an old witch lady from Tim Burton's Big Fish, then like I don't care if it's grass or clover or dandelion or whatever. Like, did you see the I love the again, this is like Twitter's designed to like make you upset. But did you see the post that was like a Amazon delivery guy got caught on security camera? Like, instead of walking up the path to the guy's house to drop off a package, he walked up the grass, and the guy, like, showed the picture and then, like, the line of, like, the route that he could have taken instead. I was like, man. I think maybe that's what happens to you when you live in the suburbs, like, too much. For too long. People are like, why would you step on the grass? You're like, why would you have, like, such an insane part of your house that nobody's allowed to step on? Like, I don't understand what the problem is. The guy's, he's probably bringing you like a tube of Sensodyne toothpaste for 75 cents an hour, and you're like, oh, please don't step on the thing that is like designed to be soft to step on. Meanwhile, like in the city, sometimes I wake up and like on our front step, there'll just be like a garbage bag full of something, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna open it. I just take it out and I throw it in the trash compactor, because I'm like, if I open it and there's something, like, I might be criminally culpable if I see what's inside of it, and I just like, like it's better to not know sometimes. That's my fan mail. I don't think so. Your fan mail has got quite the aroma to it. Okay. Not great. Not great. Let's suck it up. Just give me some stats. Give me some stats. Give me some stats. Look at that, man. Speed down? Are you crazy? If somebody left garbage on my doorstep, I'd be pissed. I mean, I'm not pissed when it happens, but it's also just like, I mean, what are you gonna do, right? Like, it's a different world in the city, man. I don't expect you guys to understand. It's different out here, man. You get caught sleeping out here, you might never wake up, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes there's this Japanese restaurant I really like. Sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get some takeout from there for lunch. Then I walk up there, closed on Tuesdays. Sends the chill down your spine. But, like, in all honesty, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, somebody leaves garbage, like, on your patio or something like that? What am I, like, I'm gonna turn on, like, a security system and, like, send the footage to the police and be like, hey, can you go apprehend this person for for throwing a garbage bag onto my front step? I'm pretty sure they're gonna be like, you know, we got bigger problems. You might be able to get away with that stuff in, like, Palm Springs. And I don't think here they're gonna be like, I think they're gonna be like, okay, sure, would you like to make a case file number with us? And then you'll, if you have the, you know, you pick up on the non-verbal signal, you're like, I guess not. If you identify them, you can leave rubbish on their doorstep. See, this is when I say, like, if in the suburbs, anyone who would, like, have their dog poop on their lawn, you could then throw the poop back on their lawn if you found out, like, who it was. Here, I don't think you would find the recourse there. Put me in. Like, hey, is this your McDonald's cup you threw onto my patio at 4:30 a.m. on a Tuesday? Well, I've come to collect. You gotta check the rune for 3 cents. People in my neighborhood post, like, who left this dog poop. Just do a DNA test. I'm just thinking. The stars. The stars is good. It takes your... Oh no, it would take Ipecac! It would take our Ipecac and replace it with 2 items from the pool. Woof, woof, woof. Bark, bark. Okay, don't hit yourself on the wall. What are the... Okay, I was gonna say what are the odds it's that one little rock in the corner. Yeah, I'm like... I'm not gonna use it. Dunk. Ah, avoid them both. That's a good idea, too. That's not a bad idea. That's a good idea, man. It's not a bad idea. My apartment actually requires dog DNA on file for that exact reason. Come on. That can't be true. When you live in the apartment, you have to submit data of your dog DNA. Somebody else in chat, an independent person, I believe, unless they're a plant, said we have to do that here too. That's actually... Okay, now I'm mad, like, for the opposite reason. Like, you have to, like, get a life. Not you who said that, but the people who instituted that policy. Like, don't get me wrong, if, like, a dog was, like, constantly pooping on my lawn, I would be a little annoyed. But, like, it's dog shit. You just get over it. It's not like you're catching the Zodiac Killer or something. And paw prints on file? This is, like, the greatest indictment for, like, the concept of retirement. And I'm making an assumption here, but is what people choose to do with their time when they retire. Like, if you're gonna retire and then become, like, the wannabe neighborhood FBI, comparing, like, dog paw prints to the tracks that you find on the ground, you might as well have just kept working until you drop dead. That's insanity. Like, you don't want to, like, just call your grandkids or, like, read a book or something like that. Instead, you're like, I'm gonna find out whose dog is walking here when they're not... So what dog walked on my grass when they could have taken the path right next to me? Like, just get a life. And this is coming from the guy who's like, when I ever see anybody, like, breaking social etiquette in public, I talk about it on stream for like 45 minutes. You still gotta, like, you know, figure out how much of your mental, you know, energy and well-being you're gonna dedicate to, like, literally a piece of dog excrement on the ground. Like, either get a real problem, or just frick off and enjoy what's supposed to be, like, the twilight years of your life, right? Like, what you worked so hard in the first place. People will really be like, oh, man, like, I hate my freaking job. Oh, it sucks so much. But on the bright side, it's all worth it, because 20 years from now, I'll be, like, bored in my house doing CSI Winter Park, Florida, trying to figure out what dog took a shit on my lawn once. Like, just spare me, man. Yeah, go touch Clover. That's wild. I live in Winter Park. You ever see Robert and Annie from 90 Day Fiancé? Yes. No, sorry. Okay. Like, it happens to me, too. Again, like, when I have that same kind of, like, impotent homeowner fantasy, right? Like, when people leave garbage, or, like, you know, I find, like, a bottle cap in my patio area. So I just picture in my head, like, because it's irrational. I'm sure what happened is, like, maybe somebody drinking on their balcony, like, even far away was just like, hey, check this out, boom, and then it just randomly, like, landed on my patio, or, like, people walking by were like, you know, they just yeeted it. But in my head, it's always, like, some fucking conspiracy that, like, some evil asshole out there is like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna wait until 2 a.m. and I'm gonna throw a single 33 acres of sunshine bottle cap onto his patio. Just to get under his skin a little bit. And then 3 weeks later, I'm gonna leave a Tim Hortons bag in a planter at the front of the property. And you're just like, you know, you gotta acknowledge that it's just insane. But I think I've gotten good at, like, being annoyed with it for like 5 seconds, and then recognizing that I don't want to turn into Robert De Niro from Meet the Parents, and then just like drinking a cup of coffee and playing Slay the Spire instead. I also don't want to turn into the center of a protractor. That's true. You are, though? Debate. Well, this is a slap in the face. This is the only chance doubters had. Fuck. Do I have anything sucked up with Void that could help me here? Well, I did just get 0.15 stat increase. Tears increase, I should say. Oh, prayer card! That might block a hit. I just blocked a hit. 8. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, maybe actually the suburbs suck. You have to forgive me, by the way. I'm sure you got annoyed with what I said if, like, you live in a rural area. But, like, you got to acknowledge, anytime, like, a bad news story happens in a city, there's always, like, some asshole that lives in Billings, Montana that's like, that's why I would never live in San Francisco. And I'm like, don't flatter yourself, buddy. You're not interesting enough. It always comes out as, like, man, I totally could have lived at the top of the Coit Tower in San Francisco, but I willfully made the decision to move to Billings, Montana, and let me tell you, I don't regret it for a day. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. Billings, Montana is superior in all ways. I think we're still gonna win. The house one always get, like, the housing crisis is totally fucked, don't get me wrong. So I don't say this out of a sense of, like, you know, screw you, got mine. But whenever they talk about, like, you know, home prices being insane, instead of being like, you know, wow, that sucks, there's always some dickheads who are like, it's still okay in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia. Imagine having to, you must be a sucker if you pay for $1 million house in San Francisco. And I'm like, yeah, but then you, like, it's expensive, but then you own $1 million house. Like, it's also, I'm not saying this is the way it should be, but, like, you're basically, like, you know, you're owning someone by saying their house is worth more money than yours. What you should be saying is, damn, that's wild. Instead, you're like, it's superior here in the middle of the Adirondacks. Anyway, we won. Sorry for your loss, or congratulations, but I'm not going to read that. Okay, choose outcome. We pay out the believers, again, as always. 3 more hits and he would have been dead. And if I had wheels, I'd be a bicycle. They pay more to live in a city where people poop on the street. And then when they sell their house that they pay more for, they get more for it than the person who's selling their house where people don't poop on the street because the street is made of gravel. It's whatever you pay is also proportional to what you get for it when you sell it. Yeah, plus horses poop on the street there. Anyway. Slash marker. Casino 2.